Hello, welcome to. It's kind of like a walk back, kind of a think on what we just went through with this Clash of Heroes campaign. I know we did kind of a mid-campaign review, kind of our initial thoughts and such. But it was kind of retrospective. Our journey, as Dave and I mentioned before, our journey through this campaign and what we've learned from it and what's happened to us as a result. So.
There's a lot of units I have a lot more respect for.
Yeah.
On both sides, honestly.
Well, yes, because for the first thing that we noticed, I remember, was being forced to use regulars most of the time.
The durability of regular units. That still holds up in my head.
Yeah.
Even though, like, the last 3 games, I bought in squads of SS, but that was for me more of a narrative perspective, because if I was going to bring an SS lieutenant, I figured he's going to bring in some of his guys with him.
SS platoon mount, it makes complete sense. Yeah, and that's
the only reason I really did it. Otherwise, and just to annoy you with double LMG squads.
Those are, I have enough respect for them from when I fight with my Normandy troops. But when you're running with an early war against that's devastating. Especially since I don't have LMGs.
And it's probably the best thing I can do in early war too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the sheer number of shots you're putting down is it's 11 shots if you count the one rifle in a 5-man unit. That's pretty good. That's a lot of firepower. Now, granted, you're paying a premium because that's 40 points plus the cost of the 65, so it's 105 points, right?
Yeah, 105 points for a 5-man squad.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive. But you're right, it's very useful.
It's useful. They shake off there's times like in the campaign where you were when those squads came in, you were shooting, and I'm like, I don't care. They're 5 to kill. Okay, you put a pin on me. Okay, whatever. They're gonna get up.
Yeah, I had to put a lot of pins on them to make them do anything.
And honestly, it made them broken's not the right word for it, or overpowered, but at times it felt like that, because it's like I can have this squad run off and do whatever I need it to do because I'm not worried about it, whereas other squads I have to keep my lieutenant around. Not that my lieutenants really did that. Well, I guess Strucker did it more than Kruger did. Kruger was more of a lead from the back type of guy.
Right, but he was also leading from the back wherever you needed to have that pin support. And he was really good at that. So
he was. And
Strucker didn't need to do it as much.
No. You were scared. Your guys were scared of Strucker. Oh no, the SS are here. When are the British coming?
Well, I've always liked the Vickers twin turret tank, simply because you can put 2 different pins out, right? Two MMGs, which on an early war tank is a big deal. Now, with the Panzer I and Panzer II, you don't have that ability.
No.
But once you get to the Panzer III and IV, you have that because you have a whole machine gun and a coax. So, you have to go with the medium tank. I could do it with the light tank.
Yeah.
And the Germans couldn't.
I learned from the 2 games I played against the Finns how much I hate those double turret tanks. Those are not fun.
Yeah. Because Doug was using the T-28, which had 2 MMG turrets and a main turret. Yeah,
it's a mean tank.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, even though it's 8+ armor, it's got a lot of guns, and it could put at least 3, maybe 4 pins down. I think it has a whole machine gun too. I could be wrong. Yeah, don't quote me on that. I read it a few weeks ago. I remember it was just last week, but the lighter equipment is very point efficient.
It is, and the other thing that I think I came to the realization more, and was in our area, one of the newer players, I've tried to kind of convince him. I don't want to put thoughts in people's heads, like the inefficiency of a medium machine gun team.
Oh, right.
I don't. In theory, it sounds good, but unless you know you're defending something, I don't think there's a reason to take it. I mean, if
I would agree.
in the last scenario of the campaign, if I would have had enough points to get even just one weapons pit and a medium machine gun, I probably would have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to be defending a hill. That's what it would have been for.
Right.
And I mean, like when you were defending the hill, you had one in there, and that was until the one of them got charged.
Yeah, you had to charge him.
I had to charge him because I couldn't get rid of him.
Yeah, you couldn't land any hits on him because he always counted down. He was a one-man team at that point.
Yeah.
So, ignoring long range and movement, you were already hitting on sixes. So the best you could do is stand within short range.
Yeah, I don't think medium machine gun teams are point efficient anymore, and I own 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was building towards.
I've got 2 of them as well.
I was building towards a theater selector, and then I was like,
oh yeah.
I started using them more, and I'm like, this is. I mean, it's cool, but.
I do agree though. If you are defending, and you know you've got hardcover around, whether it's ruins, walls, or even if you do have the ability to be in bunkers, or like you said, weapons pits. I mean, those or trenches. That's fantastic, and that's where the machine gun I think shines because for 50 points, you've got in your case 6 with 5 shots going down range, and it's hard for the opponent to do anything about that. And if they only take out one guy, it's a small team, and that makes it that much harder to hit.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think just within 1 or 2 games, I think it was 2 games. You killed my medium machine gun. I don't think I ever bought one back.
No, the only medium machine gun you fielded was on your vehicles or the motorcycle. That was it. Yep.
And I have. Because of you, and I said this, I don't know if it got on video or not, but
it did.
It's your fault that I found the 221.
Yeah, that 221 is a formidable little piece of kit.
I still like the motorcycle for because it's way cheaper.
It is
for what it is.
Yeah,
and just being able to turn on the spot too helps a lot. It's got a lot more mobility than the 221, but the 221 has armor, so it's kind of a. But yeah, it's just so much. Because I think a lot. I don't want to just in this there between our normal store and the other store we've gone to.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of what draws people into the game is late war. That's a lot of what you see. That's where a lot of the cooler stuff is.
Right.
But there is some nasty, nasty stuff in early war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't do good against late war stuff.
Right.
But if you know it's like, hey, we're going to play early war, and now I'm not like, oh, that means I can't break. Now I'm like, okay, that means I can do this, this, and this instead.
Right.
Before it's like your thought process is like, that means I can't bring my fun toys. No, there's fun stuff in early war.
Yeah.
Early war is not boring. Early war is not just a bunch of. Because my thought process was, okay, early war's crappier tanks and it's just going to be an infantry slog. But no, it's just as brutal, if not more.
Yeah, I think it is more brutal because in later war you do end up with more tank versus tank versus anti-tank stuff, and the infantry go do what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas in early war, infantry can defeat tanks.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are 7+ armor, and if a full squad of 10 is, hitting a tank that has, assuming again they have ignore the fact that they need anti-tank grenades, but if they make their tank fear morale test, which for a veteran is 7 or less, regular is 6 or less, and you put an officer nearby, you're likely going to charge. But if you have a 10-man squad charging a tank that has not activated yet, half of those guys are going to hit.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a pen value of 5. You're going to glance a 9 armor vehicle on a 4 or better. And these are 7. So you can easily take out a tank. Because if it's unless you have anti-tank grenades, which a lot of them don't, Molotov cocktails, though, are available to several units in a lot of the early war armies.
Not mine.
Yeah, well, unfortunately not mine, even though the Poles use it, it's not. So, but anyway.
Probably what a lot of Russian.
Definitely Russian, yeah. But what that allows you to do then is, even if you don't have those anti-tank grenades, you're glancing all the time.
Yeah.
But you're glancing on 3s. usually, or better, simply because you get a full size unit, charge in the tank, and then that tank is going to be either take a stun pin, an immobilize in a pin, or on fire in a pin. So it is very likely you can hurt that tank. So,
or at least make it so it's going to be harder for it to hurt you.
Yeah, definitely. And you can even, if you think about it, if it has one weapon on it, because most of them do,
yeah,
it only has one weapon to shoot at the unit nearby. So you can actually have multiple squads go after it. In the games Joker and I used to play, this last 2 summers ago, 2019 or 2018 summer, he ran his Russians and I ran my Poles, and it was all early war, all light stuff, and the action was great because there was a lot of, tanks hitting other tanks, but you had a lot of infantry charging, and it was good because they could. And the early war tanks can't tank shock or charge infantry because they have to be at 8+ or better. Now some of the tanks are. T7P is obviously your Panzer II is. Panzer I isn't, so it couldn't. None of the armored cars can, but you don't do that with armored cars anyway. Yeah, so there's a lot. It's I think more balanced. So that it's more fun.
It seems like it's honestly been a while since I played late war, like on purpose late war. But it seems more because I think throughout this whole campaign, I think there's only been like 3 times I played a casual game, and then the one time I cheated unknowingly because I just kind of bought my narrative list, just thinking in my head, and I'm like, after the game, I'm like, you can't bring an anti-tank gun and a howitzer in the same list without a double platoon. I was like, I can't? Oh, that's right, I can't. I felt really bad, but I think neither one of them did anything.
Yeah.
But it's more like kind of like what you're saying, it's like, in early war, infantry and the armor have to work together, where in late war it's everybody does their own thing because they do it super efficiently.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Good way to put it.
That having to work together.
Yeah.
And there's times where during the campaign where I haven't done that. The times I have done that, I've done very well. But I'm going back because it's. I would go back and watch our campaign games just because I yell at myself.
Oh, yeah. Because of the mistakes.
Because of mistakes. Where, I'm sure you probably do it when you're editing it.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, it's like, oh, shoot.
Or there's a bad roll coming up and you're just like, no.
It's like, shoot. Well, sometimes when I'm editing it, though, I'm so focused on watching the video for things I got to edit, that I'm engrossed in the story, and I don't even remember what's going to happen. And so there will be times when you roll the hit, and you'll make some really lucky roll, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, or oh shoot, what? It's almost as if I'm reliving it.
I did that when I started rewatching the campaign a while ago, and I think it was that first game, or the first or second game. That was the first game, because we only did one game in the snow, right?
Yeah, it was
when I had everybody coming up alongside that lake,
yes.
And that motorcycle just like, nah, I'm not going anywhere anymore, and just like clogged up everything that I was going to do to that Briggs motorcycle. I was like, nah, we're good, we're fine right here, and just like wouldn't move. I'm just like, oh my.
Yeah.
Even with my I had to bring my lieutenant up to get that motorcycle to move, and by that point it was too late.
Too late for anything to happen, right? Yeah.
And just, there's things like that I just going back and watch them, and like the amount of times that you left mainly Rostakowski wide out in the open is hilarious.
Yeah, but I needed to get him to where he needed to do his leadership bonuses.
He didn't die, I'll give him that. He went through a lot of bodyguards.
I know he did. Yes, he did. So you'll see him in probably season 3 or 4 whenever we get to Western Europe again.
Yeah,
that's going to be fun.
But it's just learning, and it's weird too, because like I think you said in that, like the halfway video, this makes you play completely differently, which I like. Mm-hmm. It's the same game, but just the unit preservation. Although,
you have to balance preservation against the objectives,
and it's a weird balance.
It is. It really is.
Because this is going out after the last video,
mm-hmm.
right? That last game, like I told you, I willingly sacrificed a unit as a somewhat diversion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I had to just to do what I wanted to do. And I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, it's 6 guys, they're all regular, that's only 60 points. I can live with dealing with losing that if they get killed. If not, fine, that's great. I mean, I did that a lot. Richter was my guy through most, like, when he came in, that was kind of his deal, because he was the only squad with anti-tank grenades for the longest time.
Oh, that's right.
So he had to do that, and it was just like, in my head, I'm like, as a general, I feel bad that I'm, all right, here's more guys for you. Go get him, Tiger. And then he'd get shot up, come back. Okay, there's 2 of us left. I need 4 more guys. It's just like...
Yeah.
But he was trying to do his thing, and it's like, I kind of don't want him to die because he, for the longest time, he was the most expensive unit.
Yeah.
And it was just like... But there's a reason he was, because I was having to deal with your armor. So I like that way about the campaign, too. It's like trying to evolve with what you were bringing... Or at least what I thought you were... Knowing for the longest time that you had way more armor than me, and I had very few ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
But I found a way to deal with it, and then it never worked. I don't think he ever got to a tank.
Thankfully. Yeah. But, yeah, that was one of the things It was... The way we did the resource points, I think, was an improvement over other ones we've seen. But there really is no way to stop any player from getting a runaway, resources. Or, whether you do it, winners get bonuses or losers get bonuses. It doesn't matter. Someone is always going to end up because of the way chance works. Someone's going to get a lot more resource points than other players, and they're just going to dominate. So, one of the things that I think a big improvement we made in the campaign system was simply setting a trigger. So whenever either one of us got to the point where were less than half the total army points after reinforcements of the other one, we got emergency allocation, and you added almost caught up.
Narratively, it made sense too, because at least
it does.
Because I don't think I got it 3 times.
I think 3 times, yeah.
And it makes... I don't think you ever got it.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did not need it. I had a couple 400s and a 500. Yeah, but it was 2 500s and a 400. Yeah, I know.
But it makes, from a narrative perspective, it made sense because the Germans were pushing forward. It's like, okay, we're starting to lose here. Throw some more guys. The problem.
Right. And even on defense, narratively, because as you're taking more casualties and part of the line's getting weaker, they're going to send in reserves to that part. So, I think it's a good mechanic that feels like it's reflecting a reality.
The only time I think we may have to adjust it is when we get to Berlin.
That's true. Yeah, we can always throw stuff like that.
That may cause a little bit because the Germans aren't going to get reinforcements from anywhere.
True. Oh yeah, no, we can do that. Well, just like I had the tanks after a certain point run out of fuel. I was able to husband those a little bit so I could extend the number of games I could use a tank in, but still that was a mechanic that was based on a historical reality, so we can easily throw something like that in. And that's just a campaign rule that you can, it's an optional rule that you use when you want to tell a certain story.
Right.
It wouldn't be a standard.
Or help the story along.
Yes.
Or, I mean, and just the best thing of that is just, at least for me, was just coming up with the crazy ideas and, like, let's try this for a game because I don't think, like, a lot of the games that we did would have worked, like, for just, like, a regular bat rep. They had to work within the narrative.
So, a few of them definitely.
Like the convoy.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do that in a narrative setting. Or a non-narrative setting, like just a pickup game. I don't think that would work.
No, that definitely has a pickup game. You could do it as a batter up for a special scenario, kind of like one of the campaign book scenarios.
Yeah.
Where it's lopsided, intentionally lopsided. That's what that one would be. Now, granted, the force wasn't lopsided, but the objectives were definitely. And unfortunately, we did do some math errors about can we actually make it up.
That game still is painful to watch because just knowing that it's like I can't win this. Why am I watching this? It's like, oh.
Yeah, we didn't think of it at the time, and that's one of the things we gotta. That's one thing we did learn.
Yes.
When you're setting the objectives and you set the table up, you gotta make sure this table allows you to achieve the objectives.
Even when I set that table up, I had a friend here who was helping me set it up, and I sat down and I looked at the table, and I'm just sitting there, and she was on her phone, and she looked up, and she's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I'm not gonna win this." I knew I wasn't gonna, and I couldn't put, and she's like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't know why, but I know I can't win this, because I remember there was that bend there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a kill zone. I'm not going to make it past that point. I was like, I knew that going into that, just from looking at the table. But even then, it was just like, that wasn't the problem. I knew something was off. I just couldn't put my finger on it. So I'm just like, yeah, it's going to be a 20-car pile up right there.
It was, yeah.
I don't even know. I didn't make it up to the bend.
Oh, that's right. You did.
I didn't even get up that far.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're making the objectives, I guess the challenge we had here is we were really
flying by the seat of our pants.
Well, not sort of. Well, sort of. But I think that's partly intentional. I was kind of designing it that way, in the sense that just like in reality, you never really knew what was next.
Right.
You know, and so I would tell you kind of, okay, here's the nature of the thing, or I would say, I need a table to be set up like, generally like this. I didn't know how the table was going to be set up. You set that up, and I kind of hoped it would work. Not in the sense of would the objectives make sense at all, but would that terrain make it possible to win? Or would it prevent it, right? It's just, there's no way to know that until you do it. And we couldn't play test it because then that spoiled the element of surprise.
I think a lot of that's a good way that we did it too, is like, for the most part, I think, except for like the convoy and maybe something else. Yeah, the one other scenario. Basically, I came up with the scenario, like those two scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time, you came up with the scenario and was like, set the table up. Do this for the table. So I'd come in and said, so I don't know what's going on for the most part, except for like the hill one. You told me I was going to be taking a hill, so I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And you're like, leave me this much space on the table so I can put a hill down. It's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the only is the convoy and the one where the night fighting one.
Oh, that was something else. Man, that was something else.
Yeah, those are, I think, the only two scenarios I can think of that I came up with off the top of my head. Oh, and the first one. Well, the first one we stole from the book, but we modified it severely.
Yeah, but then there was the also the firefight one rescuing.
Oh yeah. That just kind of happened on happy accident.
Yes.
That was a very happy accident.
Yeah, that was kind of fun to play.
I still liked.
Nice diversion.
Did you see Jake's comment in that video?
I'm sure I did. I just don't remember
that. He was like Trade Kruger for Santa. Since
Children
still have Santa.
That's right.
Somehow, some way, I still ended up with Santa. I don't know how. But I think that's a good weird internal balance that we had, not knowing it, and just you mentioning it. This is like, I want to do this for a scenario. I need this kind of table, and it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on, so and like I said, the way and I think I said in the middle, the way I would generally set up force was I'm not trying to make lines of sight. I stand back and throw templates at the table, and where they land, they land.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well because the line of sight was not usually long. There was an exception in that convoy one. That was a completely unintentional one. But you ended up with good fields of fire in pockets, and it felt right. It just
even the marsh one. There were good fields of fire in pockets. That was
right. Yeah,
that was a tough table too.
It was. Yep, and you're right. I did make a few mistakes on that one. I really botched that game. That I handed you that one by making some really stupid mistakes. However, having said that, your ability to use smoke wisely really did help you.
And that's only because of our house rule for
That's true.
Playing the house rule video?
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. Yeah, house rules are... Yeah, and I've just started putting out house rule videos. So there's several more coming. Some of them we've actually done in this campaign. And these are actually the way we tested them. And some other ideas I have that we haven't tested yet, but we'll.
Yeah, because the game smoke rules make no sense to me.
Yeah.
Coming from other games where, well, the only Flames of War where you use smoke. In Flames of War, I use smoke. I should take that back. I use smoke way more than I actually shot stuff.
Yeah, well, that's why I built my light mortar team when I got my first sprue of the British, because I fully intended to be shooting smoke from a light mortar, as they did, and it just never worked right, because every time you miss most of the time, and so the unit opponent places it, and it's usually a waste, or they put it in a position that hurts you. So most of the time, it's either a waste or it hurts you. There's no chance of it being even partially good.
Oh, there was times smoke hurt me.
No. I mean, if I were to place it
I know.
as the miss, right?
Right, I get that.
But when it's random, it could work in anybody's favor, and I liked it. It's a simple mechanic.
Yeah, it's because you can kind of. It's, I think, maybe why they didn't do it the way we do it, because there's times where I would try and game it to some degree, because coming from War Machine, where I think I explained this before, you can intentionally scatter stuff.
Right.
And there were times where I was I'm not aiming where I want it to go. Like if I needed to go 2 places, I aim in the middle, hoping it's going to go one of the 2 places, and then I can move my army that way and deal with it over there.
Well, yeah, but that's like, see, that's one of the reasons I like the rule the way we did it, because it doesn't. You're not gaming it. You're using it the way you really use smoke. You aim for a general area you wanted, if not a pinpoint spot, and yes, if you missed, well, you could still take advantage of that. It wasn't, way out of the way. It was not off the table or somewhere where it's completely useless. So it was a good addition.
I am glad that I didn't. There were a couple times when my observers were around that I had in my head, and I'm glad I didn't do this in hindsight. I had planned on throwing barrage smoke down.
Oh, right.
I had planned on it, and I was like, when I was going to do it, I couldn't risk doing it.
Yeah. No, see, the problem with barrage smoke, and I'll mention I've got a house rule video of that coming out too. Okay. I have an idea for the way that really should be done instead of the way it is written.
So I don't even know how it's written, but I'm like, I know you can do it. And
it's only a 6-inch circle.
What?
Yep, that's my thoughts exactly. So that's why I have a house rule for it.
What?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad I never did that.
Yeah.
I would have been severely irritated.
Yeah. So I have I did again this playing it with the smoke the way we did allowed me to come up with some other tweaks to some of the smoke rules, and again, those are separate house rules that you'll see coming out. But this is a great way to test them and play them, because even if you don't want to call them a house rule, those rules you can use in a specific scenario.
Yeah.
Because maybe it adds flavor to that, and that's what having a campaign like this where it focuses on a narrative. This particular one was obviously the invasion of Poland. The next one will be probably Operation Barbarossa, the very early part of it. And then, who knows how many seasons, because, again, there's a huge war, multiple theaters. We could do 3 seasons of Russia, a season of, think about it.
Well, no,
if I ever get a French army, we could do a season in Norway. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do.
If we ever get the island assault box in at our game store.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know when that was supposed to come out a while ago. I think it got delayed.
Yes, we could have Clash of Heroes Pacific Edition. Yes.
Yeah, Joker's got Marines, doesn't he?
He's got Rangers. He can use them. He's got enough guys that he can use Marines as well. Yeah, that's one of these things. You get a simple campaign mechanic that doesn't require a lot of bookkeeping and rules and have special abilities. A lot of the campaigns, you have special abilities given to units. Not all of them, but you have a lot of that.
When I was jotting stuff down on my backside of a receipt at work, when I came up with these ideas, that I had thought about that, but I'm like, what would you really do to? Because like thinking of like the 40K one, where like your units get special abilities. I'm like,
oh yeah,
the Crusade. Yeah, I'm like, why would that make sense in the bolt action setting? Like, and what are you really going to give somebody in the bolt action setting? I know, because like if you look at some of the name people, they have some insane special rules. I'm like, why would on Earth would if you give that to a unit, they're not ever gonna die.
Yeah, that's why I think just basically setting limits to how soon you can upgrade a unit from inexperienced to regular or regular to veteran. That works.
Oddly, I thought that was going to come up more often.
Yeah.
And it only did on your tanks and one of your squads, two of your squads.
Yeah. So my early squads, my first platoon. That
you upgraded.
I upgraded both of my squads that were surviving.
You upgraded a machine gun.
I did upgrade a machine gun, which dying. Yep. And then eventually, I had extra points, so I went ahead and upgraded my tanks to vets, the couple survivors. But yeah, it didn't really.
I never did.
Yeah.
No, I did one. Dietrich.
Yep,
Dietrich got.
And it made sense.
Yeah.
Because he was doing a lot of work.
He was doing more work than the other two were at the time.
And that's one thing that I try to do in this particular campaign. You don't have to do it in all of them, but in the Clash of Heroes scenarios, in the seasons, we are trying to kind of condense the season. It's going to represent a couple weeks of reality, because in reality, a unit is going to be engaging almost every day of the week, every day, right? In the 15 days represented by the season we just finished, there were only 3 days that the brigade did not actually fight. That was day 1, September 1st. They were simply moving into position for day 2. And then there was the day before the battle we just finished recording, the Hill 342, or 324, and then there was another one somewhere in the middle. I forget what the actual date was. But other than that, they were fighting every single day, and sometimes multiple days, or multiple times a day. And what was neat is that if you condense the campaign, such as this, into something so short, you can do several battles a day, like we did for trying to take the hill. It was that day, then that night, or next morning, and it just didn't last long. Yeah, and it has the right feel, because the guys don't have a lot of time to get a whole bunch of replacements. You don't have a lot of distance you're covering, and sometimes you are in the same spot doing almost the same battle. So I think it's narrowing the campaign time frame that kind of helps keep it feel legitimate.
Yeah, I just thought of going back to the house rule thing real quick before I lose it in my head. Like we talked about, I know it didn't get on camera, tweaking the one from the one in the marshes of you taking a pin every time you got shot.
Oh yeah,
an extra pin.
Yeah,
because that, to me, on my side of it, I'm sure it felt worse on your side, but it felt bad on my side, because I'm like, in theory, I could have just, knowing that, in theory, I could have just focused all my fire on a squad at a time and just made them pin out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I couldn't because of the way the table was. But like in future scenarios, like I'm sure, like when Russia gets going, that whole mess with the Germans just not wanting to fight in the winter.
Yeah,
I mean, something like that's going to come up, and a tweak to it where it's just the first time you get shot, you take the extra pin that round, not every time you get shot.
Yeah. I mean, again,
it's nice to find those. It's like,
it is.
We play test. We did this before. It didn't work. It worked, but it didn't work how it should have worked. And the other thing I think that kept the game interesting for me, although it was very, very irritating, was not getting the supply point rolls.
Yeah,
were very sweet in your favor.
They were. First early half, definitely. Yeah,
it kind of made sense though to some degree, weirdly narratively, because I'm invading.
Yeah.
So in all your stuff's already there.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah,
I gotta bring stuff in.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's irritating because I think I got one roll of a 12, and then after that, and honestly, I would have to go back and look at my notes, which are strung out between 3 different notebooks. But I think after that 12 when I bought the 88 in.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because
I had the points, but it made me think more about list building because I'm not getting as many points. How can it made me build lists better, I think.
Yeah, because you're trying to maximize your capability with a low number of points.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
It really is.
But
it really is hard to do. And especially if you limit yourself to a certain era of the war.
Which again goes back to the learning the durability of the early war stuff.
Yes.
And beginning to actually like the early war stuff more. There are some weird things in there, but
there are. But it's still fun. Yeah. No, that's actually a good point. And that's something else that as we worked through, we realized that we needed to have an automatic 100-point reinforcement points. Originally, it was you rolled to see how many you got. If you rolled the 8, it was 100, and for every one above that, it's one more. But that didn't work out too well, especially with your bad rolling. But
all my good rolls are in the game.
Yeah, but it made sense to because you always lost units. That's just that's the way the game plays, right? Even if you're conservative and you husband them better, but you're going to lose them, and so it's nice to have 100 to know you're going to get something back, and then roll for the rest.
To feel like you're going to lose. Like you're going to generally lose at least one unit.
Yeah.
Or a significant chunk of one unit. So it's like, I'm going to get that back as long as the NCO is still around. I can give him more soldiers and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, like, what I ended up doing with Richter was just, I know I can get him back as long as he's, with him, it was like, as long as he's got 2 guys left, I don't care. Because I can re-up him and send him back out there.
Yeah.
And that might be something to think about. It may be a weird thing to do, but we could figure out a way to do it. To maybe stop somebody from doing that. Like if we expand this campaign out to, I mean, like I know we've talked about bringing Joker in for the Russians, but like expand it out like throughout, say, our game store.
Yeah, right.
If you do that so many times with a unit, they get shell-shocked, where that's where they would take the extra... Because you just kept throwing this guy out there and out there, then he would take the extra pin every first time he gets shot, because he doesn't like it anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Something like that. I mean, like
combat fatigue.
Yeah. And it just popped in my head.
And again, because the only reason that would work is because the time frame of the campaign is very short. It's only a few weeks at the most. Assuming again we're doing a 15 episodes or games, right? And that would make sense because that's a lot of intensity. If you're constantly getting your guys blown up and you're still getting thrown back in, that is going to wear on you.
And it would make you be smarter with your guys too. It's like don't always send that guy out there.
Yeah.
Don't
I think that's educating the player in that part. Yeah, but I do think that fatigue, that is something we could do. Again, it could be a house rule. It could be a campaign rule. It could be a specific scenario.
And this is how we generally talk about rules through. So, the only army I would say that would not get that just because of how insane they are would be Japanese, because they didn't care.
Yeah, they did not care at all. Because for
they
them,
didn't want anybody on their island.
And they went in knowing, dying for the emperors.
Yeah,
that's
not that we have a Japanese player, but I think but that would be. That I think if we do implement that rule, which would be an interesting rule to implement, would just be like, no, don't. The Japanese don't care.
Yeah, we have to think about that. I mean, and this is, like I said, we play games, we come up with ideas, and we just chat them out, and that's how a house rule comes up. That's how a scenario rule comes up. And that's something that we've this campaign has really let us do a lot of, and I really kind of enjoy that.
Me too.
So I can't wait for the next season.
And it's not like we're trying to break the game.
No. And like I say on the house rule videos, they're rules that we use, but they're not necessarily the right answer. Yeah, let's have a discussion and make it better, because a house rule is designed to make the game even more enjoyable. Not that there's something wrong with the game. It's just it's going to be more enjoyable, whether it's for scenario or for the way you guys play.
I've never seen anybody else, but I've never heard out there of somebody giving a better answer to the smoke thing.
Oh yeah, in this particular case, yeah.
I think everybody has just been like, just don't do it, don't use smoke. And it's like, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be a way to we found a way to fix it, but I mean, no, I think just everybody accepted reading the rules in the rule book. You're never going to do that. Why would I let my opponent place that? That's dumb.
Right, yeah.
I'm just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, this was a valid real war tactic. It needs to be adjusted.
That's actually one of the things that I want to try to work on as well. And this, because we saw it was so successful, it started me thinking about the way smoke was actually used. And when you have smoke grenades, now granted, not throughout the entire war, but later in the war, you had smoke grenades, both white phosphorus and regular. U.S. obviously had a lot of white phosphorus, but there's nothing in the rules at all for infantry units popping smoke.
Really?
They should be able to, yeah. So I keep saying we, but he's got crazy ideas, I have crazy ideas. And between the two of us, we will come up with something.
Yeah, I never even thought about that.
Now that I brought it up, I've been kind of noodling on it. I haven't come up with an answer. If you guys have an idea, just go ahead and comment below. Start the discussion, and you'll eventually see it in a house rules video. But again, that's what this campaign has really helped us see, is what did they do in reality and in the actual combats that is missing from the game, potentially. And one of the things that I came up with earlier, this is long before we started this though, is the Poles should be able to get Molotov cocktails. They used that extensively. They knew about how to deal with armor. It was part of their training. But they didn't have anti-tank grenades. They used Molotov cocktails. And it's just not available to them in the current rulebook. So that's why I have my army supplement for the Polish army posted up on the Bolt Action Facebook group.
Do they even get anti-tank grenades?
No.
Is there any difference between an anti-tank grenade and a Molotov cocktail?
No. It's just
mechanically.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
They count as.
Because the Germans don't get Molotov cocktails.
Nope. No, they do eventually get anti-tank grenades, but that is kind of strange. They don't have it either. I would think that they. Well, I don't know if they used it much.
I don't think they would have used them. Maybe towards the end when they were running out of stuff.
That I could see that desperation. Definitely.
Yeah, but I don't think the regular army or anybody else would have used Molotov cocktails.
Yeah. Something to check in history for you.
Maybe just not just just using what you have around you to defend yourself, but not like they were given them type of thing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like an improvised weapon almost.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Infantry throwing smoke.
Mm-hmm.
That would.
Yeah, and that is definitely a late war thing. I don't know how early the different armies that used it adopted it. It's part of the research I'm doing. I haven't come up with anything yet. So
now you got me thinking about it.
Yeah. Between the two of us, like I said, we'll come up with something. And that would actually play off, because with Joker playing U.S., he'll have white phosphorus as well as regular smoke. And so that adds some real other interesting possibilities, because your white phosphorus can do damage as well as...
Yeah.
So
yeah, it can.
And light buildings of fire. There's a whole lot of uses for white phosphorus grenades. So yeah, there's some things that we're working on. Okay, so yeah, it's a fun game, and I like it. It's not a simulation, we know, but
it's not
if you can make it have the same flavor as what happened in real life, then
at least some of it.
Yeah, throw it in there. So and again, the key is not to put it in and make it really kind of unbalance something.
Or make it, or make it too. There's, I don't know. I'm not going to give the name. I'll tell you afterward. You might. There's a guy that Doug used to hate playing against because he would modify rules based on real life stuff, not just with bolt action, just with any game. And like he would make it so was not fun. And I played one game against him, and I was like, yeah. And Doug was like, "Was that fun?" I was like, "No."
Interesting.
Because he would like one of the games he played a lot of. It was, I don't think it was Wings of Glory, but it was like an offshoot of that. And just like he had all these special house rules because these are what the planes really did. Because this plane could never beat this plane. So this in the game, this plane would never beat this plane. So it's like, why take? It's stuff like that.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, no. Yeah, we won't go. That's a whole other topic. That I don't believe there's any situations where this plane never beat that plane.
But no, I'm just
those kind of attitudes.
He would add that into
exactly.
like
you can't
bolt
do
action.
That.
There was I can't remember the name of the game. I think it was the guy made it. It was a guy. I don't know his last name. So it was Dr. Mark. He was one of the guys I played Planes of War with. He made a World War II naval game.
Oh.
That it was like he gave me a binder like this thick one
wow.
week. He's like, "Here's your rules." I'm like, "For what?"
Whoa.
He's like, "Read those for next week." I'm like, "I work."
Oh my goodness!
But it was a really in-depth, great game, and just like, and then when this other guy came in and played it with us, he was like, "Well, this boat could have done this to this boat, so my boat's not going to take any damage because that's what really happened." And we're like, "No, this is a game, dude."
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Games should not reflect reality that deep.
Yeah, if they do, then that's a whole nother thing that we're dealing with. Leave that to the Army.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't do that here. We're just here to have fun, and that's actually what this campaign has really helped us come up with, is a really cool way to have fun.
And it's weird because the way our game store is, and I'm sure most game stores are like this, at least around here, I know, are very 40K heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And, we both used to play 40K, and it's like, even just playing this campaign has enhanced my love of bolt action, replacing 40K for me for the mass combat game.
Yeah.
That I play, and it's like, I don't think you could really do what we're doing with bolt action in 40K.
Not in the current editions, no.
No, yeah, and it's just like, you spent $400, so you got the best army. I mean, that's what 40K. I've spent maybe $400, and I have like, not that I spent over $400, but I have like.
We won't talk about actual dollar values.
But I'm like, with what I have, I can field like, just off the top of my maybe like 5 different variations of the German army.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yep.
And it's like, people are like, when they talk to me, I was like, "Oh, do you play 40K?" I was like, "I used to." And they're like, "Well, what do you got?" And I tell them what I have. Like, "You should bring it out and play." Like, no.
Yeah.
I don't play that game anymore. It's sitting back there. I don't want to bring it out. I have no urge to bring it where I can craft more ideas for this game to do these weird campaigns. You couldn't really do a campaign like this in 40K.
Yeah, no, we did that one, with your army back in 7th edition.
That was 7th edition.
Yep, like exactly. We could do it back in those editions, but definitely not in the newer edition.
But I don't even think we could, in 7th edition, we could do the same type of thing. I don't think 40K, the game of 40K is not built for something like this.
No, definitely no longer. It actually could have. There'd be some challenges that don't get me wrong, but because the rules allowed a unit to survive, it's the morale thing. You simply fell back. You never lost models as a result. You'd end up having a lot of units be whittled down and simply fall back and get out of position, and they'd survive the game. And so much like we have here in bolt action, when we end up with, well, that guy just ran off the table, or That's the unit's got 3 left. Now can't do anything with them now, but you could reinforce them later.
That's a good house rule too. I'm sure it's on your house rule.
Yes,
The leaving the table. Because when you came with that idea, it's like, that's so great. My artillery observer shoots his flare out. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm not needed anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Take me and my 100-point self back to camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was honestly a game changer for me. It's like, because it was always like, he shoots his barrage out, then it's like, where do I hide him?
Mm-hmm. And you had to. He's on the table, stuck. Yeah, it just makes sense the way units would tactically shift to get out of the line of fire once they were no longer needed. It made complete sense. So, again, just trying to enhance the game.
Yep.
So, and this campaign has really been a lot of fun as a result.
It has.
So I can't wait to see what we come up with the next series.
And whatever games we do campaigns for.
Well, yeah. No, we're gonna honestly do Smuggler's Run as it's written. I think it's okay the way it is.
Okay.
Because I mean,
you've looked at that more than I have.
Oh yeah, I've looked a lot. Yes, and in certain ways, it's like what we've done. Oh, it's nowhere near because it's 2 completely different game systems and 2 different contexts, right?
Right.
But it's the same concept of you buy an initial fleet. Here we bought an initial army, and as you, in that case, make money, you can either bank it or spend it to improve your fleet. Thing is, you win by having a certain treasury amount. So you're husbanding your amount of money you're making versus there's a whole lot of things. You could buy new ships, re-equip, or not, might have to repair, but you can add improvements to them. Much like you have here, you can add to the units, replace units. You don't. I found myself a couple times just hanging on to some units or points because I wanted to save up to bring in this whole thing. Like when I brought in my anti-tank platoon, I need to store up a whole bunch of points to do that.
Wrecked at the one game.
Yeah, I know you did. That was not fun. But oops, it happened. But it was still. In order to do that, I needed to.
The campaign would have been so much different if I wouldn't have wiped them out, though.
You're right. It would have. And I really, really wish I had thought about, instead of bringing that 75 mil, I should have brought a Bofors anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
Not that it would have mattered necessarily, but it's about the list building and having a well-rounded army. Since I didn't have any other way of dealing with tanks, I forgot you had your tanks. Yeah, I'm going in thinking I'm going to hit our infantry position on a hill. I got to take that out, flood it with artillery, and at least I could do indirect on a tank that's sitting on a hill. It's not going to move much. Let's go for it. I was, of course, wrong. But yeah. So
no, there's, like I said in that video, the end of that video, I wasn't putting the 88 up there. I wasn't putting anything up. I needed to protect those flanks. I'm not letting you get in on my sides.
You were smart. You played that well, I would say. And that's actually something that was neat to watch because, as we played the scenarios, a lot of scenarios were a similar theme to something we had done before.
Yeah.
But the reality is, that's what the way war is. You're always doing the same thing on different days. You're either always attacking, or you're always doing fighting withdrawal, or you're trying to punch through a line, or you're just trying to hold a line. It's the same thing. You're trying to do the same thing. So when you condense it into a certain period and you try to string a campaign together, you should see some repetition. And because we did so many of these things, we learned each time we did it, and we were able to apply it, what we learned, to the next time, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully.
It's oddly weird because now that you say that, and just like from us talking after games too about how like you should have been more aggressive here, yada yada.
Yeah.
I honestly, this, as much as the Sun Tzu videos have made me play this game better, not play. At least I feel like I've in the 15 games gotten better at knowing what to do when certain situations come. Like,
I've seen that.
I think in my head, because a lot of how I play most of the games is I'm very defensive. It's like I just find a spot and bunker up. In most games, there's a couple games and armies that I play where I can't do that. Like my rats in Era 1, I can't do that. I have to constantly be pushing forward.
Yeah, right.
But like, just like being more like in the last game, pulling the 221 up the side to take care of all this artillery. I mean, that's completely against what I would normally do, but I had to do it.
But that was the right thing to do. I mean, you needed to put the pressure.
And even though I lost, and that because it's the game we just played, when I lost the flamethrower on that half track, that was I needed to do that because I needed to put him up there.
Yeah, you need to get him where the attack was going to be developing. Yeah, absolutely. And you started to use your flamethrower very strategically. It wasn't because I know you used to use your flamethrower very aggressively. You tried to get it out there where it would attack the opponent instead of letting the opponent come to you and then you kind of spring the trap. Because by putting him in the half track and it has a 6-inch movement, you've got effectively 15 inches of movement of threat range before you even have to worry about shooting, which is additional 6 inches. So
maybe the only thing maybe in the last game, maybe in hindsight, I should have started him in the truck, but I wasn't thinking. I was thinking that stuff was just going to stay there and just.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly fine what you did because again, you didn't know that I was not going to charge.
Yeah.
You thought I was going to pressure you somehow.
Yeah, because I deployed first.
Yes, you did.
So yeah, I had to protect both flanks.
Right. Yeah, and so.
Because honestly, because we're sitting in front of the table, thinking about it too. I mean, I know there was a forest here, but I think this flank had the. If you're going to push one flank like we talked about, this would have been the flank to do it of because there's less stuff in the way.
You're right. Yeah.
Because you still could have kept all your indirect stuff behind that forest and just pushed there.
Yep, I could have.
I mean, yeah,
the
you would have been.
The idiot scared me too much. But you're right. No, you're absolutely right. Looking back on it, you're right.
And knowing, it's weird to think this too, but knowing that it's the last game, or potentially the last game of the campaign.
Oh yeah,
I think you could have played a little more aggressively and done that.
Yes, I had fixated on the hill too.
Because
much.
if you send, because you had how many? You had
I had four infantry units.
If you send 2 of them here, and just have them run that way.
Yeah.
The idiot's only going to maybe take out one of them if I hit them.
And you're not going to take out because I got a string, so you wouldn't be able to hit many guys in there. Maybe 4 guys. Yeah, you're right. I think again, it is really neat because you look back on these things and as you play the same kind of scenario, and this is a flipped one. You were defending a hill twice, and I was attacking the hill. Or sorry, the other way around. I was defending the hill, and you were attacking it twice. And it is relatively easy. And I, just like you, had some stuff on the wings. I did not take that and flip it around and think, well, wait, what would I do? To figure out what you would do. I just...
The other weird thing with the campaign, too, and I don't... It's... this is a weird thing to say, because I know a lot of what you can get in the habit of, and I've noticed this from watching Guerrilla Miniature Games, the YouTube channel I watch the most. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
He puts out more content than we do.
I do, yeah. I'm not retired yet.
He's not either.
Well, that's his job, though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. When I retire, this could be my job.
That's true. But a lot of, if you watch, not so much now because Owen's moving, so he's kind of losing Owen.
Oh, too bad.
He's moving. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, he would play Owen. So he played Owen so much in a variety of games, but he would know. But watching them play each other, they knew no matter what the game was, kind of what the other person was going to do.
Yeah.
The campaign, completely threw that out the window.
Yeah.
By game 3 or 4, it was just like, I can't play the same.
Yeah, you're right. We had to adapt. We had to adapt to the campaign, which meant we couldn't play the way we normally did, which meant we had to relearn how each other played, and I did not learn you. I guarantee you, I did not. And Sun Tzu's first thing is know yourself and your enemy. I did not know you anymore.
And I think that's another thing too. Like I said, the campaign. That's another way the campaign I think has made me a better is learning to be. Well, like you talked about, and I didn't want to say it, but you talked about. I don't think you put it in the video. I know it wasn't how you had wrote down your plan so you wouldn't screw it up. And I'm like, Mike Tyson's first rule is everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And it was just like.
Nope. But in all fairness, my plan was, I followed it up until I got punched in the face.
So that was deployment, right?
No. Okay, yeah, the one lucky mortar shot. But no, even the infantry pressing up on the hill, it worked. You were down, and I got my last dice, and I was able to move up just as I had not planned, but the orders I gave my guys in the way I wrote it out. Turn 2, I continued that because again, you put some of your guys down. There were enough pins in the others I could move up. Unfortunately, other things started pestering me. So
I wasn't well worried though, because they were down when you ran up the hill. But next turn I'm getting up.
Well, no, I know, but remember, turn 1 you were down.
No, turn 1.
Well, no, turn 1 you had acted, so I didn't have to go down because I was able to go use my
turn 1 you were
last.
too far away. Well,
but I was still running,
on ambushes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you were down the second turn, so I was able to move up further, which is great. But by that time, stuff was shooting across your double machine gun squad. And your howitzer, your Panzer IV with the machine gun started really chewing my guys up, and that's when things stalled because I was now having trouble activating my units, and I couldn't force it so that. Yeah, there was a little bit of oops in there.
I was never worried about your infantry getting on the hill because if they got on the hill, they were dead. The thing that worried me the most was the forward observer because I knew it was going to do one or two things. When the way you deployed, like I said, was different than what I would have done, but I knew the observer was either going to take out the 80, try and take out the 88. And then everything would have started lobbing up onto the hill.
Right.
Or you were going to try and do as much damage to everything on the hill as you could. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. Everybody can go down. You're getting that much closer to me, so next turn when I stand up, you're in short range, or you're in some of the back guys, you would have been in range.
Well, except that you would stand up, and by that time I've been able to charge you. So the difficulty was... that you had started your guys back from the edge of the hill.
Because I'm not going to lie, that's because I forgot. I just did 12-inch deployment across the hill.
Okay.
I didn't cut. I don't think I would have deployed all the way up at the front of the hill anyway.
Well, because I could run 12 inches, right, so that's 24 inches, and I would not be able to charge on turn 2. I had to charge on turn 3. So that was the plan. Stay down if you were shooting at me. But if you activate all your units, then I would have gone and run in. Barrage comes in, you're either going down or you're taking pins. Either way. So I could run again. By turn 3, I'm ready to charge. Yeah. The problem is, turn 3, you guys started getting the dice, and you started shooting the guys that were about to charge you.
If I would remember to deploy all the way up to the edge of the top of the hill, I think I could have... Well, you still got a good roll on the radius of your barrage. I think I could have.
It was 10 inches.
I could have spread out a little bit more.
Yes.
Knowing that ahead of time.
I
knew it. I just didn't remember it.
Yeah.
I could have spread out more because I could have put like Schultz there, the other machine gun squad over there, and. Yep,
you could have. There's a lot more room to spread out. That's at least 18 inches across. I think that's actually 2 feet. I think. Just under 2 feet.
I don't think I would have gotten everybody hit by that. I may have taken rifle fire earlier than I don't think you ever shot up there with a rifle.
No, with a rifle. No. Well, yes, I did with the squad you obliterated, the regular infantry squad that got chewed up by all the machine guns for everyone else. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. So, because I was going to charge your machine gun team, and you got to me first. And that's one of the things I like about bolt actions, alternate dice. You never know when the dice is going to. Whoever gets initiative with that dice pool, that's what does it, and that's when plans change. So, yeah.
Gonna have to, yeah. And it's like with Black Seas, it's like, I mean, it's a different game altogether. But I think that even that with the wind determining order of activation, because at least that you can plan ahead of time.
Yeah. Yes.
You can make longer term plans.
You can. Yes, you can't do that here.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So all in all, it's been a successful campaign.
it has.
I really, really, really like it was a good idea you had to come up with something. Yep. It was a good core concept that we built on it, and now we got a great thing. And I'm going to go ahead I'm going to draft up a Word document of everything. We'll just call it Clash Heroes Campaign. And I'll go ahead and I'll put it... it won't be done by the time this goes out. I mean, there's no way. It's just... but eventually I will go ahead and put the link in. It's going to be in the Bolt Action 4 Facebook group in their files section so that it's available to everybody who can use it. And I'll also put it in our Hedgehog Historicals Facebook group files site so that we can leverage it from that platform as well. So we'll be seeing that
typed up by season 2. You can throw it in the first video of that too.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it'll be done well before that. But yes, definitely, probably by the end of September it'll be all good. I want to try to capture all the rules we came up with, including the house rules, because I do want to make the house rules kind of recommended part of the campaign because it adds so much to it.
Then find a way to we'll add whenever we get around to it, the appendices for the Erewhon Clash of Heroes.
Oh yeah,
because that's going to be
that's
going to be the one where you see units getting special abilities and stuff. I think
we have to. Yes,
I think that would make more sense there.
It would. Yeah, we're working on that, and it'll be a bit. We're probably going to get through. We're definitely going to get through Smuggler's Run and Season 2 of Clash of Heroes before we even get to that one, because it's going to take some time to really think that one through.
Yeah.
But the same kind of campaign idea will work there too.
I don't even think we've really worked out what we're going to be running in that either, unless you already have ideas.
Well, I still want to try my elves, but we'll see. I really do love having my reptilians against your Skaven. That's just a blast, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's a story for another day.
It is. All right. Thanks a lot for sticking with us, guys. Hope you kind of saw the possibilities of a campaign as we work through our first season of Clash of Heroes. Comment below, kind of continue the discussion, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. That was fun. That was really fun. I'm really excited about that. You had a fantastic idea.